In the last session, I positioned the legs at their respective angles to the seat face. We used angles specified by the fine woodworking article and used the sight lines as reference faces for those angles. To complete the undercarriage of the chair, I'll add the side and medial stretchers. And for starters, I'll delete the symmetrical half of the chair. Pull a copy of the side stretcher from the component dialog box. It's in a vertical position because that's the way we created the component. So we can now rotate it into a horizontal position with a move tool. I'll change to X-ray style so we can see the center points located at the lower joint of the legs. Now draw a line between these two center points, indicating the desired orientation of the side stretcher. Move the stretcher at its end point so that it connects to the joint here at the front leg at that center point. To swing the stretcher into proper orientation, I'll place guidelines by double-clicking the tape measure on the two center lines. Draw a small trapezoid between these guidelines to create the plane of rotation. Select the side stretcher, pick the rotation tool, and hover over the trapezoid face. Hold the Shift key and move the rotation tool to the center of rotation and click to lock it there. Start the rotation by clicking on the center line of the stretcher and then swinging it over to the desired orientation at the other guideline. The stretcher is in proper alignment but is not positioned properly between the legs. Use the Move tool to position one end at its approximate final location. You can see that the side stretcher length as given in the fine woodworking article is too long. To shorten its length, use the scale tool and grab the center handle. Turn on X-ray so you can see the shoulder and tenon of the stretcher as it closes in on the proper length. You want the side stretchers to be slightly longer to apply an outward pressure on the legs during assembly. So don't make it too short here. Now we can delete the guidelines and the reference trapezoid. Now for the medial stretcher, grab a copy of that medial stretcher from the components dialog box and get it into a horizontal orientation along the red axis. You can do this with the Move tool watching for 0 degrees alignment. And then rotating again for the red axis. Again, turn on X-ray so we can see the center point of the side stretcher at its joint. Move the end point of the medial stretcher to connect to the center point. The stretcher needs to be shifted to the left. Create a guideline to help with a move tool. And then move the stretcher along the red axis, along that guideline, into position on the side stretcher, watching the shoulder of the medial stretcher as it approaches the side stretcher. That looks good. Now, to check whether the length of the medial stretcher will work. The side stretcher was too long. Let's check this one by copying over the half of the seat along the red axis, flip along the red axis, and then connect the two halves exactly at their connect point. Zero in on this to make sure you've got it properly connected. Now we can check whether the stretcher, the medial stretcher, is properly. Ooh, that looks real good. So we don't have to adjust the length. It fits properly within the two legs. Again, we want it a little bit long to have an outward pressure at the final assembly. The next session we'll start the upper part of the chair, the bowback.